Hey folks, welcome to the channel. Today I'm going to be sharing with you a new fence, possibly my favourite type of fencing here on the farm. Stick around and I will show you it going in and show you it all finished. So this coming week, Tom's back. I need to prioritise what we're going to get done. We've got a double fence to replace this for a new hedgerow coming up here. So I just need to make sure that he at least gets in the goat side first. Right, it's another day, another load of fencing. They made a start on the bank now, so we ripped all that out last night and I planted some of the last trees.
I'm knowing it.
What's the ground like?
Hard.
Hard?
Really hard.
So it's back to the horse net now. We're going to get the second side of the paddock on. Tom and Rob have put all the posts out. It's going to get rolled down. Now, judging by the other night when we rolled down the horse net ourselves, this is, well, you don't want to be on the wrong side of it. It's 170 kilo a roll and it picks up a fair bit of momentum. So Tom is fixing up one end and then it's going to get rolled all the way down. This side's going to be a horse net. This side will be sheep net. A little bit to fill in here. And then some of the older posts that we pulled out elsewhere, I've got Tom to knock in at the same time, so I'll brace those across. There'll be the tree supports, but that will be in a different video from when I planted these trees, so I'll link to that if I've put it up already.
Away from the big roll.
So usually this stuff comes on a 50-metre roll, which is the other stuff we bought that's in the barn, but this is also a closer mesh, so it's 50 mil. And it's 100 meters, so that's why it's so heavy. But once it's rolled out, then it can be stood up as normal.
Just nice, I can get a bit out of it. What's your leg, Tim?
You want to be in that fence in it, Tim?
Yeah,
ready?
Right, yeah,
Go.
Yeah, I'm not lifting.
Okay, just roll it.
fence.
Pass the fence then, yeah.
let's twist it part of the rein then, Tim. Straighten it, mate. Let Tim turn it. That's it. That's it. Leave that like that now, Tim. That's fine.
Well, watch that on those posts, it'll knock.
He gets to...
Sorry, it's holding itself uphill. But...
So it's trying to slight way up.
Yeah, let him go. If he's going to go, let it go.
Like I say, do you want to go back that way? Like that.
Pretty flat, Aaron.
Did you hit the road and get that minute? Yeah.
Come on.
Right, straining it up now, so everything's rolled out. It's tricky stuff to work with. Do you want it up? crisis averted. Rob just spotted that we hadn't lifted this over the other side, because this is just a gradual bend coming around and it swings off to the right a little bit. So these bigger strainers we've put on the inside of that radius just to hold it. It's quite satisfying actually, because it will just ping up in a second. Like that. There's not much flex in it at all. See these little crimps just where it dips down a bit? The whole idea is that you pull it tight enough that they halve, so they flatten off by about half. Right, netting's up. Still got to be stapled off, but it's looking good. It's feeling tight. Just because this is 1200, this is the same height as the post basically, so we don't have to do any top strands of anything, but we just wanted to make sure that that netting is just below the top, which it is on most of them. That one's got to pull up a bit anyway. So I'd always avoided this in the past, over the past year, deciding what fencing we were going to be putting in simply because of the cost. Why did I want it? Well, not for horses, but for goats, for the poultry. It's going to be more predator proof, so I think just using it up here on this top paddock is a wise idea. But this horse netting is 120 centimeters high, which means that we don't have the additional wires above it. If you see this one here, we've got an 80 centimeter high sheep net and then two runs of plain wire above it. So although these rolls of wire are excessively expensive, the fact you don't have to run out another load of plain wire or barbed wire above does help. You can get this in different heights as well. So these were 100 meter rolls, which means that they are 170, 180 kilo, and that is not easy to manage, especially when you're rolling down a slope here. And like you saw, it was quite tricky. It did take 3 of us to keep it straight as we rolled it through. Now we also, prior to getting this, we bought some other horse netting, which was 50 meter rolls, but the spacing of the upright wires was 80 millimeters, which means that while it's great for livestock, it meant that rabbits would still get through, no good for the veg garden. It was still probably big enough that you'd potentially have issues with young chickens and bantams getting through. But either way, this came up in an auction and it was cheaper. I still haven't taken the other stuff back. We've used one roll of it down at the end of the goat paddock between us and a neighbour. Whether I keep it all or chop it in, I don't know. But this stuff works out a little bit, well, a lot more expensive than sheep netting. Either way, if you're going to do a small section, whether it's a back garden you want really dog proof, or whether you just want a really secure paddock section for other livestock or pet predators. Excuse me, where's the ball gone? Then it is a good option. And I can't think of many situations where you wouldn't want this. I mean, yes, it's always overkill, but there's no negatives to it. Maybe wildlife corridors and stuff like that, but at the end of the day, you've always got gateways and other bits that hedgehogs and that can get under, and deer and that can jump that, I'm sure. But there's no chance that any of the livestock we've got are going to hurt themselves on this. The goats barely climb it, because I guess they just don't get their feet in the same way. They can't get their horns stuck. There's no sharp bits, so there's nothing when they're rubbing themselves. There's nothing for them to injure themselves on. So I'll come over to this side, because fast forward 20 years from now, maybe even 10 years, the hedge rows that we planted all the way around this paddock in a couple of months' time will be like this. And what we found is that the goats can't do much damage at all with this stuff. In actual fact, it's perfect as far as letting them trim it back. So you end up with a really nice straight hedge row, and all we are left to do is just to top every couple of years. So this hedge was cut back a little bit prior to the fence going in, but you can see that they've just managed to trim it really neatly up the side. Anything that comes through they can nibble, they've done it. They've reached as high as they can, and I think actually give it another few months they will grow through a little bit more, and you won't see much of that wire. It will kind of soften the whole look. Hello, girls and boys. So it's all finished on this side, and now what I'm doing is just coming off it with electric and then going back in. So the goats, one side of their square is this fence. That's simply because we don't want them to have the whole paddock at the moment. They're just doing a quick job for me, clearing this side. Then I'll mow this. I'm going to move them probably up onto the hill field. I've started topping all that, but there's a little bit left that they can munch their way through. But if we venture up to the top here, you'll see that the chicken shack is there as well. And while they've got their electric netting around the outside of their pen, they've got this at one end. So this is basically chicken proof as well. It also carries on up around the veg garden. We've had nothing coming through as far as rabbits. The only issue is the sheep netting that goes along, and that's the old stuff which will be replaced in time, but I've put some rabbit netting on there now. I might even have a little bit of footage of me putting that on there. It is all well and good getting all this veg in, having a big huge veg garden, but if you've got rabbits that live 4 meters away, it's not good fun. So today's all about rabbit fixing or rabbit prevention. This is completely over the top, and I'd rather have a thicker gauge wire, but it's what the auction threw up and I was after a bargain. So this is like a really fine, I guess it's 13, 20 mil, something like that. But it's too tall, it's 900 tall, so it'll actually be as tall as our sheep netting here. What I'm going to do is take it down to the bottom, fold it in a bit. Now one option would have been to put a high tensile line at the top and use our hog rings onto that. But as we've got the netting here and it's relatively straight-ish, I'm going to use that. Well, that's the top strand in. It's not going anywhere. We now need to decide how we're going to do this. Obviously, you would normally dig a little trench, sit it in there. But I think we'll have to just do what we can do in the time. We've only got about 20 minutes to do this. Not come across these before either. I knew of them, but not had one. These are hog ring pliers. Basically a U-shape set of staples or rings, and then as you squeeze it closes up and rings wire to wire, or well, netting to wire, I guess. This is the excess here. I've run it across the end of this veg garden just for now. One of the most important things is not to have this stuff anywhere near the goats. Goats' horns, heads, feet get tangled in here, they panic, they wrap themselves up, and we've had issues even with the lambs. But definitely with anything horned, you do not want to use this. Only single strands, like you can see here. Something quite reassuring knowing that nothing's going to get stuck and you haven't gone out for the day and left a screaming goat for your neighbours. Anyway, looking forward to getting this hedging planted. I think we've got a total of 500 metres, so we're going to get a pre-order in for all that, maybe even get a couple of dates together so that we can have a couple of farm day, open day, volunteer day type things, and just let people come and see the farm, muck in and eat lots of hog roast. But I'll leave it there. Thanks for watching, take care, and we'll see you next time.